2, 1. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. My name is Jared Budlong. I'm running as an independent candidate for governor here in Alabama, and we do things different. So this one is actually a strategy meeting. We do these publicly so that you understand what we're trying to do and who we're trying to reach, so there's nothing hidden, no man behind the curtains or woman behind the curtains or they behind the curtains. We are doing everything as publicly as possible, including strategy meetings like today. Normally, we hold these on Saturdays at 9 o'clock, and we normally hold a field operations meeting at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. This week's a little different. I have something going on Saturday morning, so we will be doing them tonight. Feel free to tune in. You can see these afterwards. That's why they're recorded and posted to social media. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat, whatever platform you're on. If you're on a platform that offers a Q&A feature, please use that. It is easier for me to find those as we're streaming, and try to keep it on topic. So we're talking about strategy tonight. If you want to talk about policy-specific questions, please refrain from asking those unless we get to a lull and we have some extra time. Otherwise, post those to the website, or you can wait for policy meetings, which are typically on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock. So we're going to move forward tonight's strategy. We have a couple things we definitely want to cover, some things coming up. So the first thing I have on the agenda, at least, is talking about our campaign meeting calendar. Again, we talked about how the fact that this is a public meeting, and this Google Meet that we're meeting in is a public available link on the website. But it also means it's tied to a public calendar. So we currently have it hidden to where guests can't see who else is currently listed as attending, because we wanted to respect some privacy there. So what I wanted to do is see if we could find a way to share internally who's going to be attending the meeting, but not reveal that information to the broad public. And I'm not sure that we can entirely. But Anna, I believe you were the one who brought it up. You weren't sure who was attending what meetings. So what would be the best solution for you to know who's attending the meetings? Like, is the event or the attendee list on the event the best way?
So real quick before I answer that,
yeah.
Can anybody else see the Q&A feature on TikTok that might be in the live? I can't.
So is it not visible? Cool, it's turned off. Why don't you help us understand what you're wanting out of the list, and I'll try to turn this on as we go. So
honestly, the reason I was asking for that was just to be able to best work with Amanda to set up what graphics and posts we need to schedule out, to know like where you're going to be, and to know where other volunteers are going to be, as to know what we need to promote coming up in the coming weeks, so that we can schedule out what content we need to create and what content we need to schedule. Not so much as to who's going to be attending like regularly scheduled meetings and those types of things.
Gotcha. Okay.
I know that you just gave us access to like be able to see the blocking of your calendar as to like when you're busy, not busy. But some days there are still multiple things, and say it shows you busy from like 9 to 11, but there are 2 Saturday morning events. I still don't know which of those 2 Saturday morning events you are going to be at, so I don't know which of the 2 to create content for, as an example. So if we could just do like a weekly rundown of where you're going to be, or if we could set a sort of poll feature where people can just say, yes, I'm going, no, I'm not going, something like that. I don't by any means want to disturb anybody's privacy, and I don't want to over encumber anybody. If people can't be at things, they can't be at things. It's really just more of a planning question as to like, what do Amanda and I need to create and promote, and what don't we need to promote, so that we can kind of get some of that stacked and ready to go, so it's not an everyday like
pinging to see who's going to be where. So
it would be easier if we could batch it rather than every day like what's tomorrow kind of a thing.
So I think that actually makes it a little bit easier. So the volunteer calendar isn't public, so that one's not listed anywhere. So that one, I think we can list the volunteer calendar as something that everybody can see who's going. And if it's not that way, let me fix that real quick, because I think I can just fix that.
Okay.
The only concern is make changes and manage sharing. Okay, so that should be something we can do. So let's double check the privacy settings, because actually I don't think So everything should be as public as possible on the volunteer calendar. So are you at a point where you can look at your volunteer calendar also?
Yes. Let me toggle tabs. I don't think
Because
on
what might need to
volunteer
happen
calendar I
is,
can see.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't have access to, like, I can't RSVP myself into something on a volunteer calendar, and I can't see an attendee list.
Okay, so I'm gonna send you an event or an invite to that calendar because I thought it was available for anybody just to assign themselves to, but evidently that is not the case. So it's good to know.
Yeah. I can see the events that are on it. I just can't
Right.
RSVP or make changes.
So you should now have access to that. So you should be good.
Okay. Let me refresh it.
That also means we need to be adding everybody manually to that as they get onboarded. So that's something we need to take a note for Taylor. So let's do. All right. So we're going to use the volunteer calendar for tracking attendance, for social media posting and planning. New volunteers have to be added manually to the calendar in order to see invitees. And we'll change that. I'll revise that in a second if we find out that yours isn't seeing it. So I'm not seeing a way to turn on the Q&A feature, which is super frustrating. I don't know if anybody else in here has live access. Jalen, while we're chatting, what you can do to help is obviously spreading the word on social media. But if you can donate money, donations always help. And then volunteering or helping canvas. And both of those are. One of those is still volunteering technically, but it's on a looser basis. The volunteer form on the website is kind of a formal volunteer like application, and it's going to feel like a job application. It's kind of intentional because the people who we want volunteering for like meetings like this are dedicating long term. Like, hey, I can work, I can work a couple hours a week for these couple of months or all the way until November 8th. You tell us how much you can help. But the idea would be for long-term commitment, essentially. If you can't commit long-term, that's okay. Completely understand everybody's in a different situation, but the volunteer form is not for that. If you just want to get involved, send me a feedback form and let me know what you want to do if it's not long-term, and then we can see what we can work out. And if anybody in the comments knows how to turn on the Q&A feature after a live has gone live, after we've started, please tell me, because I can't find it. I can't find any way to turn on the Q&A feature. There's an interact button, but that's asking like Q&A feature, like actual like random Q&A questions, and I'm not here for that right now. Anna, are you able to see the invite calendar now and the details?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
it gives
cool.
me the option to like edit events and things now.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
So no, you're good. Yeah, no, I was talking. Yeah, you're good. Just making sure you can actually see what's going on. Well, that stinks. I need to remember to turn the Q&A feature back on before we go live next time, because I can't turn it on once we're here already, evidently, and that's frustrating. I could have sworn there was a way to do that. Vote Blue, if you're in the chat and you want to join the meeting, there's a link on the website, by the way. I don't know if it's you asking to join the live or if it's just TikTok telling me, but okay, so I can't figure out the Q&A thing. I'm probably gonna start another live after this just to fix it so it's set in the settings so we don't forget to do that again next time. Okay, so moving forward, the next agenda item is we have two, so I think we can go over one real quick, just as an idea for where we are right now. Yeah, vote. It may have just been TikTok, by the way. Sorry. It may have been TikTok alerting me that you were here and telling me I could invite you. No worries. All right, so Mail Click Convert sent in an email to me, probably because I'm on some, like the Ballotpedia directory or something else. They sent me an email, and it is a bulk email service where you can pay them a monthly fee to send out emails to their list, essentially. So they allow you to rent and or purchase access to their mailing list. It's people that have opted into their service, so it's not shady in that regards, but it is a cold email in the fact that they didn't sign up for me to send them a message. But we can do that. It is a little pricey. So it's a little pricey, but it lets us reach a really large number of people potentially. So they're quoting about 300,000 emails in Alabama who are not affiliated with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, but still show political interactions in some way. They don't tell you how they know that, but other than their data shows that they are politically active and not tied to either party. So that's an option for us. The pricing is you can pick how many emails you want essentially, but the tiers for their service start at 100,000 emails, and that is $250 a month, and it's not an ongoing fee. You can pay month to month, not a big deal. But that one starts at 100,000, and to do 100,000 emails plus renting those emails, because I don't care about buying them. I don't want access to them. I'm not worried about keeping the emails. I just if we do this, we just want to be able to send to them. And then that is for 1 month, including the onboarding and a warm up of a domain name. So we would be sending from ours, like we could make it up, but it could be outreach.jaredalgov.org or something along those lines, right? So we can do that, and it's an initial fee of $746, and any recurring month would be $647 per month. And it seems pretty pricey offhand. It's the first person that's reached out to me, so I haven't looked into more details. I do want to check our chat. I think we're good on most social medias. I'm going to check TikTok again. Looks like Vote Blue mentioned Vote Builder. Let's see. Vote Builder, I don't remember if because we don't have the list already, and that's where I ran into trouble with a lot of other places. So Vote Blue, if Vote Builder gives access to a list, and they will work with people who aren't running as Democrats, because that has been a hindrance for me in the past. Like Act Blue, for instance, would not let me on their platform because I'm not a Democrat. They've let other people on their platform that aren't Democrats, but they said no to me. So that would be my question. So Trumpmeister endorsed candidates are at a 92% elected rate. Okay. Vote Blue. Yeah. Send me an email, jared@jaredalgov.org. I don't mind putting that out. I don't really care. If somebody gets a hold of that and starts spamming me, I'll just block their email. Timotheus, I don't know what your comment meant, man, so I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so that's where we're at. What do y'all think about, at least initially, not that we would have to raise the funds through donations before we could even attempt to do this. So we would want to raise the funds specifically to do a month-long or 2-month-long email campaign. But cost-wise, to reach, let's say, 100,000 people, for 2 months, we would be spending, what is that? Turns into about $1,700. What do you all think about that idea?
I think my first question would be, do they say how they get past things like spam filters and things like that? Is there a
Yeah, so they do a warm-up period. There's no guarantee, but what they do is they do a warm-up period for the IP address and the domain. So they send out 10 or 12 emails, and then 30 or 50, and they slowly build up to the full bandwidth, and they take 7 to 14 days to build up that reputation with the new IP address and the new domain name. So they do have steps in place which matches essentially industry standards from what I've known from my job. So they do match that process. What the actual open rates, like, none of that they can quote. I don't blame them, because it's a random list of people that we are sending emails to, and we'll be sending unique content, so they can't really quote open rates or anything. But they
was my question, is if they had any kind of just sort of standard.
They did have some standard information, so I can pull that up. They did send me their it's a case study is what they sent, but it wasn't politics specific, and that was where it was kind of like a hiccup for, not a hiccup, but a sticking point for me. It was like, okay, well, that's your, that's an average case study, and like, sure, but this is not an average campaign, right?
Also about content, are we creating the entire piece ourselves?
Yes.
Or do we have we don't have to go through their templates or anything like that?
No, we actually, that's one of the potential downsides, is we have to format it and make it pretty and everything else. So we do have to.
I like that better, actually. I like that better because then we can make it.
It's not drag and drop though. So it's not MailChimp or, Constant Contact. It's literally like we have to have somebody style it out. If we want to make it really pretty, we would have to style it out ourselves. So.
Okay.
Democrat Logic, if you want to get involved, feel free. There's a volunteer app on the website. I'm confused about your profile, not going to lie, but fill out the volunteer app and we'll see.
I had another question and then I lost it. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm looking at the case study. So let's see, generic content, spammy keywords, so on and so forth, solution, domain block list, email content, blacklisting, following up strategies, sending schedule, results. Okay, let's see. Open rate for cold bulk email marketing is usually 0.5 to 5%. That's a pretty wide gap. What's that?
Does it say anything about their CTRs, their click-through rates?
I'm on open rates currently, so let's see if they get into click rates. No, they did not mention click-through rate, which that's also important. They give reporting back on it, but they don't mention it in their campaign, their case study, unless I skipped over it while I was skimming. So let me check click rate. I'm gonna search just for click and see if anything pulls up. Oh, their name is Mail Click Convert. Let's try click rate together. Nope. So let's try just rate, not strategies, because it has the word rate in it. All right. Let's see, and it's still finding the word rate when I put a space before and after, and still finds it inside strategy. Let's see, strategy. Open rates and click-through rates. Let's see. Monitoring engagement is extremely important, so on and so forth. We help our client understand numbers. Okay, so yeah, they mentioned they can track it, but they don't give even rough click-through rates. So.
Okay. And maybe I missed part of what you were saying earlier, and if I did, I apologize. But what are the geo-targeting capabilities of this?
These are all Alabama email addresses from the data that they have on file. How they get it is a different question. They don't specify where they're getting it.
But we can't geo-target within Alabama. So if we wanted to pick specific counties within Alabama, or if we wanted something like that, that's not a capability.
I don't know that it wouldn't be a possibility. My concern is the number of emails that would be left, and whether or not we could warm up an IP address for that number of emails. So if we count the whole state and count no political affiliation, but still seemingly politically active, it's only 300,000, and the minimum or suggested amount that they're talking about is 100,000. So if we try to hit a city or an area of the state, I don't know that we would be maximizing our spend, because there's a minimum spend at that point. So it's $250 just for the service. So we are able
to check our criteria.
Say that one more time.
We're allowed to say this is our criteria for the
list. I can ask about geo. I don't know if they go anything smaller than Alabama. I didn't ask because of when we said all Alabama, the number was 300,000, and it was okay, well then I didn't ask to narrow any further, because I don't know that we wanted to go smaller. No, and I can't.
No, I meant other demographic criteria as well.
Oh, I'm sure we can. Yeah, I'm sure we can. But so this was
down however we need to.
We would have to ask them what the results are. So again, we have two options. Right. We can buy a list of emails, or we can rent one. I have no interest in buying the list, because I don't like the thought of that in the first place. And B, I have no use for them after November 8th. I don't plan on needing a list after November 8th. The goal here is to win. and it also exponentially changes the price. So we can rent for much cheaper versus buying the emails. Yeah. So and the number, just the whole number. So just saying everybody in Alabama who has no political affiliation is a small number in the first place. Now, if we were going to try and convince people from different parties, the number would get much larger, I'm sure. But that's not our goal. And like, in case anybody's new here, like, our goal is not to try and convince Democrats and Republicans to vote for us. You're welcome to. We'll welcome any vote. But I'm literally trying to reach the people that don't want to vote for either of those parties and just are tired and pissed at this state and are tired of voting for either of those. So that's who I'm targeting.
So the reason I asked about the my brain is saying geocaching now.
No, it's
sorry, it's been a long day.
It's geofencing. Yeah, you're good.
The reason I asked about that, are we thinking about doing this in addition to the postcards or instead of the postcards?
They approached us. So this was just, they reached out and I said, sure, you can pitch me and I will tell you if we think we can raise the funding to do it. So that can be a part of this conversation. Like, do we want to replace the postcards or do we want to do this in addition? Because either way, we've got to raise the funding to do either of them or both of them. So knowing that we would need $1,700 to do this, did we get a final count on the postcards? Did you have a chance to look at that spreadsheet that has the counties broken down by uncast ballots from 2020?
I did, but it doesn't break it down by zip, which still doesn't give us what we need for Landshark. So we would need to decide, like, within those counties, where do we want to target, which is a sub conversation.
Yeah.
In order to figure out which zip codes and then back into that data.
So, John, I think you have a list of zip codes and counties that are combined somewhere anyway. Can we reverse engineer that and take county and convert it to a bunch of zips?
I have,
because I think we converted zips to counties. Can we go the other way?
I'm just going to go ahead and say I can do that.
Because the other thing we could look at doing is the state voting demographics, that the polling data, at least, not polling data, the poll results, not polling data, because I don't want to get people confused. The polling results or poll results from the 2020 elections are available. It's just harder to parse because it does it by poll location. And I think that should have the zip codes in it. So we should be able to do the same thing at a more granular level, Anna, if that's what you're wanting. We should be able to do that. John, I may need your help on that one. Like that one, because I think it's in different. I think the zip codes and stuff are broken out or not broken out yet. It's just the address of the polling location. So we may need some help splitting that data out to then say, hey, that's part of this county, and let's look at those.
Okay. Yep, I can help with that.
Okay. Cool.
I think there's a couple more comments on TikTok if you want to address any of those.
Yeah, let's see. They have a list. Could be a problem. Vote Blue, go ahead and email if you want to. That'd be great. I don't see any other comments past Democrat Logic mentioning that they're a political strategist. If you see other comments, please tell me, because I do not see them on my end.
I honestly didn't read them. I just saw them in my peripheral, and I didn't want to.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I think we got through them. Yep.
Be a time hog.
Yep. Let's see. You're late. So Virginia on Facebook says that should be everyone in Alabama. Virginia, I'm not sure what you mean, because I didn't catch this until after you said it. So if you could clarify what you meant. And then a Facebook user says, how do you get texts and send video texts? So you would have to have the list from somebody, and then you would pay per message, similar to those emails that we're talking about. Most of those are kind of expensive, so I haven't looked into doing those yet. The text one is, from what I've seen in the past at least, text advertising is more expensive than sending out emails. It is a more likely to get opened, but it's also a more personal interaction, so I feel... Oh, Virginia, I agree. She's saying that everybody in Alabama is who's pissed off. I agree. That's a good point. That's a good time to bring up the swear jar. So you can definitely use our campaign as your digital swear jar. So if the state ever makes you mad and you end up just cussing out of the blue, feel free to use our campaign as your personal digital swear jar. Yeah, I think that's all of the comments though. I think we're good there, so we can move forward. The next topic was, next one on the list revolves around the messaging template and bullet points for outreaching for college students and organizations about helping out with the campaign.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I want to make sure we get that covered. I want to cover the other two because I figured those would be a little more straightforward and simple. Oh, you know what? We didn't answer the overall question though. Do we want to do this? What do we think about this on top of or in replacing of the postcards? I guess we'll have to wait till pricing though. That's kind of what that's what we're waiting on pricing. Okay. Compare.
I think the postcards reach a pretty key demographic, and I think the emails, I don't think it's a bad idea, but I think it potentially could be hit or miss. Whereas we know we're going to send the postcards to a pretty key demographic. So I think based on final pricing, maybe both, but I like that we know where we're sending the postcards.
Yeah,
currently is my personal opinion.
Yeah, the downside for me on the postcards is we still, just because they're in a specific area of the state doesn't mean that they aren't aligned with somebody already. And I guess that's where my only concern with the postcards is, like even if we pick a blue part of the state, so that we know that we're not in red country, then it doesn't mean that they aren't diehard Republicans who will scoff at our postcard. Or conversely, like we could think we don't want to send to a red county or a red zip code, but they might just be misrepresented based on the way they got gerrymandered. So I'm not sure how we pick those zip codes specifically. I know how we're going to pick it. We're going to use the reverse lookup piece from the polling data, but I'm still not entirely sure we're going to hit the right houses, because we're hitting zip codes. We're hitting whole places at that point. So
That's fair.
Yeah, it's just something for us to consider for sure. So we'll look at it once we get the pricing back from the postcards for a few zip codes, because it's a flat, seemingly flat rate, right? We just have to pay per postcard for the most part.
Yeah. The other thing that Chrissy said was, do we want to mail them ourselves or have her mail them or Landshark mail them?
Yeah, no, they would be mailing them. I don't want to do that.
And that affects pricing, blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
blah. But I'm assuming we don't want to do that ourselves.
Correct. Yeah. If we had a bunch more people, then maybe, but we'd still have to pay for postage. So let's just have them mail.
Yeah.
Yep. Amanda made a point. If you are already investing the money for emails, knowing they could go to junk compared to the price of text is more useful option that could be helpful. Yeah, I'm not opposed to looking at them. I know that receiving a text that I didn't ask for seems more invasive than an email than I didn't ask for, for me personally. So I don't know how other people feel, but that's how I feel when I get a text that isn't somebody that's already in my contact list. It seems more invasive, but we'll go from there. All of this is uninvited messaging, so I'm not a huge fan of it in the first place. But what we've been doing hasn't been reaching as many people as we need to. So we've got to try something else to get in front of people. So we're going to give it a shot if we can get some money up. All right, let's move to the messaging and bullet points. All right, so the idea here is we're trying to reach out to college campuses and college students to let them know that the campaign exists, and also have them help in some way. So it could be anything from literally volunteering with the campaign, or helping us set up an event on campus, or getting us in touch with an organization on campus. So let's say they're not involved with that organization, but they're aware that their campus has X group that is well aligned with the things that we're saying and what we believe. Then they can get us in touch with those people potentially. So we're asking for volunteer help. We're asking for event planning help, or partners, we'll say partners. And I'm always going to say donations, because if they can, great. If they can't, I get it. They're college students. I know plenty of adults who can't help financially, because we live in 2022. So I'm fully aware that that's not always a possibility. Let's see. So what else do you need, Anna, to build off of? Like, what can we knock out right now to help you?
I guess, like, what would you like your elevator pitch to be about the campaign?
Okay.
Yourself, like, what are the top things you want them to know? I guess based on the specific demographic we're trying to reach out to. I mean, I know what the top, campaign, talking points are, but knowing that this is a specific audience, like, what would you like them to know if I only have a couple of lines in an email?
Right. Okay. So, let's see. During election day. Amanda, I don't remember that. I don't think I got those texts about the pretending to be somebody's opponent on election day so that people would be mad. I don't remember getting those. So for volunteer help, let's do the key talking points first, right? So for that, it's, we want to cover education, obviously. And the idea is to make that more accessible to all of our residents. And the focus for most of the campaign so far has been K through 12, but I'm not opposed to, if we can find funding, like getting better access to all forms of education for everybody in the state. I think we need to start with the thing that literally we require people to go to, which is K through 12, and make sure that's more equitably funded so everybody's getting a good education for the thing that we're requiring people. I don't know if we use that as a talking point, because there are I think Taylor mentioned in one of the previous meetings, it may have just been in the private group chat that we have going on, but it was about attending college and seeing the difference when they got to college, even though it was a community college. I think they got to college, and the difference in experiences between those who are in a poorer part of the state and from a less poor part of the state. And like, oh yeah, no, we had to share textbooks in high school, and the other kids were like, oh, like we all had brand new Chromebooks. And it was like just that part, if that would be still like if them being in such a close proximity in time to that experience, and reminding them like, hey, there are some kids that have to share textbooks, there are some kids that they literally don't have funding for a full-time librarian, like things like that. If that would resonate with college students, because they're there putting in the extra effort to get more education, and reminding them that like not everybody has the ability to even attempt to go to college because of how poor their education's been in the other parts of the state. So I'm not sure what you guys think. Any thoughts? Because again, I'm well past college age. I think most of us here are, aren't we? Dang.
So, I have some thoughts, but yeah. I want to be. I'm trying to be conscious of.
You're not going to hurt my feelings.
No, I know, okay. But I know we're live, so I
want to
gather my thoughts before I. So I think your points are very valid, and I think that, I definitely remember experiencing some of that myself, seeing some of that, disparity, and it was, there are students who get to just be full-time students, and there are students who don't get to have that, and have to work multiple jobs while being a student. And, there are definitely disparities that, either set them up for success walking into college from their K-12 experience or not. College prep is a huge industry that makes lots and lots of money.
Right.
So I think all of those are true. And I think the ones that are experiencing the end of the spectrum, that is experiencing the disparity, will definitely resonate with that. But I don't know if at 18 everyone has the capacity to understand the other end of the spectrum if you're not on the end of the spectrum that's experiencing the disparity.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
So I think that it would resonate with the folks who are experiencing it, but if we're trying to reach everybody, I don't know if everybody's gonna get it.
Okay. So is there anything messaging that we could use? Because what I don't want to do is the typical politician like thing is like, I'm going to give you free education, and then I have no way to actually do that. Like, because that would get their attention, but like I have no way of guaranteeing that. Like, we still have to figure out funding to pay for the K through 12 stuff we've been talking about. Like, we still have to figure that out first. I think we have ideas, but none of that's concrete. We still have to rely on other people to do that stuff too. So I don't know, on the education side, I don't know what we can offer that that will resonate, but also be something that's an honest plea. It's like, hey, like I would love to do X for you, because I'm not sure what we can for them on the education side. So I don't know if we mention the education piece, but then also focus on the Medicaid expansion piece, because like after a certain age, like you don't have access to your parents' insurance. It's like 26, so it's a little bit further away, so they're probably not thinking about it yet. I don't know. I'm open to ideas here, because I'm not sure what would resonate with college students.
I think in that age group, from what I've seen, what I've heard, and I know what, at least, I mean, I'm not in that age group, but I know what was important to me then is still important to me now. I think climate is super important in that age group.
Okay.
I think, I think the gender rights is really big in that age group.
Right.
So I think if we go big on those issues, maybe.
So
I mean, if somebody else can chime in. I don't want to be the only one who has
Yeah.
an opinion here, but like I think those seem to be like their top two issues, and things like housing. I know that's a really big issue in that demographic. So like maybe I mean, things that are still part of your campaign, but maybe aren't necessarily the same the top issues that we talk about all the time, but things that are big in that demographic.
Right. Yeah. So the only thing I'm not sure of is how we approach those topics when, again, it's kind of a similar situation. Like, we need to find a way of saying, I care about those topics, but I don't have any specific immediate things that I can do to fix the transgender healthcare issues, abortion issues. Like, I can't fix either of those. Climate, I care about. We don't have anything concretely in place. Like, there's nothing I can say, oh yeah, and by the way, we're going to do X. I have ideas on things that we could try to do, but a lot of that is changing, like tax code, which isn't something that I'm aware of that I can directly change outside of maybe an executive order, but I don't know how well that would stick. So I'm open to ideas on how we mention those things that doesn't seem like pandering, but also doesn't give like false promises vibes. Open to ideas. Anita, Alex, John, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. I'm gonna have to really think about that. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Like you, well past that particular demographic age, and my kids aren't there yet. So
yep.
I mean, I have a niece who's in college. I can talk to her and kind of see what she might say.
What about
about
if we're
all of
honest about it? What if we say we don't have enough voices from this demographic? Like,
I think that's great, actually.
Like, we need a caucus of younger voices, and so we're reaching out to colleges because we need input on like what's important to you guys and the things, how you'd like to see change happen in Alabama.
I am down with that. Like, that's how. So for anybody who's been around for the whole campaign, like that's literally what my first 3 months was me going, hey, I'm not gonna, like, I have opinions, sure. It's a white man from Daphne. So like, how about you tell me, like, what's wrong with our state? You tell me, because, you know, I'm pissed because I found out how bad it was for everybody else. It's been okay for me. Like, the state hasn't been terrible to me as a person generally. So I admit that I lived a privileged life and am getting into this game late. So you tell me what's wrong, and then we will deal with those issues. So let's do that. I'm more than okay with that. So we can use the bullet points and say, like, hey, like, Jared cares about healthcare access, education access, justice reform, transgender rights, abortion access. Like, pick, you know, 5 topics and say, you know, he cares about these, but he hasn't heard from very many people from the college age, and this is your future. Like, this, you are our state's future more so than I am, so we need to hear from you. You know, you can't be governor, but I can be, and I can speak for your generation. Like, I'm good with that.
Okay. So yeah, maybe if you could put a sentence or 3 together in your voice, saying that, I will go fish for, you know, student groups across the state and reach out to them,
cool.
and see what we get back.
I'm just taking a note. Cool. Okay. So I'll flex that out, or I will flesh that out later. But I think I've got a good start there. Let's see. Do we have any other? I don't think there's anything else on the agenda specifically. So I think we can take a 15-minute break, and then we'll come back for field ops. We'll take our normal bio break and then come back. Let me check Twitter. Not Twitter. Twitter, I can't see your comments if you're replying. Sorry. Go to Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, or TikTok. Let's see. Amanda actually brought up some points, so let's see real quick. Saying that the decisions you make are always made with science and climate and environmental preservation in mind. That way people know that you aren't going to make things worse, even if you don't have specific plans to make things better at the moment. Yeah, no, I'm good with that. So I maybe, can I copy that from here? I don't think I can. I'll have to go to Facebook and copy that later, because I like it, Amanda. I'll retweak that into my own words. But yeah, I think we're good. Unless somebody else has anything, we will take a quick 15-minute break or so. TikTok, if you want to jump back into 15, we'll be back. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, we'll be back in about 15. Again, normal meetings are on Saturdays. This Saturday, I will be at a summit in Mobile called Activate Alabama. If you're seeing this and you're near Mobile, please register and come to that event. It's going to be good. It's a group of people who are just tired of the way the state's running, and they want to see people organize and talk to their neighbors and their communities about politics in a hostile way, so that we can make change and actually bring Alabama out of the 1800s. So we will see you in about 15 minutes, or next weekend, or next Tuesday rather. Next Tuesday is our next policy meeting. So I think that'll be our next scheduled meeting at this point. So we'll see you in a bit. TikTok, I am ending the live,